Okay, here we go. Now, last day we dealt with Revelation chapter 16. And in Revelation chapter 16, you would think that the tribulation period should have been finished at the end of Revelation chapter 16. Because while we were doing Revelation 16, it was said that the 7 angels came out of the temple having the 7 last plagues. And when the temple was filled with the power of God and with the smoke of his glory, and nobody was able to enter into the temple until those angels were finished. And when the 7th angel poured out his vial, a voice came out of the temple saying, "It is done." So at that point, we would believe that the tribulation period is coming to an end. It's a very close end. However, Revelation chapter 17 and 18 is an interlude or an inset as to something that happened previously during the 7-year period. So this is what we will be doing tonight, Revelation chapter 17 and verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, "Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." So in this chapter, from the very inset, but the very first verse, we acknowledge that there are 3 things we are going to learn or we should look for in Revelation chapter 17. 1 is the judgment, 2 of the great whore, who is sitting upon many waters. So that is the 3 things I want you to bear in mind as we study Revelation 17. The judgment, the great whore, and the many waters that she is sitting upon. What does that represent? But before we get there, John said, one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 last vials. Now, the 7 angels came out of the temple. This is Revelation chapter 15, verse 6. The 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girdled with golden girdles. Now, I want you to understand that there are literally billions of angels, and these 7 angels were chosen to do this task. Therefore, they have to be very important angels. They have to be very high-ranking angels. They have to be very privileged angels. Now, we have seen this happen before in Revelation chapter 8, verse 2. And I saw 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given the 7 trumpets. So that was the first set of 7 angels in Revelation chapter 8, verse 2. And they were very privileged. They stood in the presence of God in front of billions of angels. So they are very knowledgeable. They are very strong. They are very important angels. So that was the first time we saw 7 angels together, and they were given the trumpets. That is very important. Now we have the second set of 7 angels coming out of the temple. These 7 angels coming out of the temple means that they came out from the very presence of God. And the way they were dressed tells us that they were very high-ranking angels. One of these angels came to John and said, "Hey, John, come with me, and I will show you 3 things. I will show you the judgment. 1, the great whore. 2, and the many waters that she is sitting on. 3 things. that we would learn in this chapter from that mighty angel. Now, in verse 1, the angel called that character the great whore. So we need to know, why was she called the great whore? And you know, a whore is a person who exchanged sexual favors for money or something of value. And this is why she is called a whore. Off the bat, the angel is clarifying this. This woman, or this great whore, with whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth had been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So why did the angel call her a whore? Because she committed fornication with the kings of the earth. And I would tell you off the bat, she committed fornication with at least 17 kings. At least 17 kings. The fact that she committed fornication meant that she wasn't married and the kings wasn't married. Fornication is a sexual act between two people who are not married. Adultery, on the other hand, at least one of the two persons are married. So they call it adultery. Now they say fornication is worse because you are sinning against your body. And this is a whole study in itself. I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg. And the reason why fornication is worse is because if you commit fornication before you get married, it is likely you will commit adultery later on in life. So I would leave that there. The person committed fornication with the kings of the earth, at least 17 of them. And the inhabitants of the earth was made drunk with the wine of her fornication. In other words, the inhabitants of the earth, they partake of whatever she was offering. When they talk about fornication, they talk about the relationship between her and the kings of the earth, the type of relationship, and partaking in her sins. Partaking in her sins. So the reason why she was called a great whore is because she committed fornication with the kings of the earth. That is cleared up in verse 2. Let's go on. Now, you remember in Revelation chapter 14, we saw a similar thing, a similar verse. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations to drink of the wine, drink the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So in Revelation chapter 14, it was announced that Babylon is going to fall because of the fornication that she had committed. You remember we did that in Revelation chapter 14. We talked about that in Revelation chapter 14, verse 8. Now, verse 3, Revelation 17, verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman. So first in verse 1, they call the character a great whore. Now they reveal to us that it's a woman. And I saw a woman sit on a scarlet-colored beast full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. In verse 1, she sat upon many waters. Now in verse 3, we see her sitting on a scarlet-colored beast. So the angel is painting a picture for us. It was a great whore, now it's a woman. It was many waters, now it's a scarlet-colored beast. But I want you to pay attention to this phrase that John said, so he carried me away in the spirit. He carried me away in the spirit. This is important. This phrase, in the spirit, is recorded 4 times in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 1, verse 10. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet. And for some reason, I wish Pastor Roland was here tonight. He will get material for us, a new sermon. In the Spirit, John heard, in the Spirit, he heard a great voice as a trumpet. He was in the Spirit and he heard a great voice. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw. When John was in the Spirit, he heard the great voice. He turned and he saw. In Revelation chapter 1, John wrote in minute detail everything that he saw in the Spirit. What am I saying? When you are in the Spirit, you see clearer. When you are in the Spirit, you hear better. You interpret better because it's the Spirit who is interpreting through you. John heard a trumpet, but the trumpet was speaking. That will happen only in the Spirit. So that was the first time that John talked about being in the Spirit. And then in Revelation chapter 4, verse 2, this is between Revelation 3 and Revelation 4. John wrote Revelation 1, 2, and 3 in the Spirit. He heard in the Spirit, and he wrote everything that he heard. Then he heard a voice. He said, after this I looked, and behold, a door was open in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet, talking with me, and which said, come up hither, and I will shew the things which must be hereafter. John had to be in the Spirit again. So he said, immediately I was in the Spirit. And behold, I saw a throne set in heaven. And John went on to describe everything he saw in Revelation chapter 4 and chapter 5, which was the temple of God. Now, John purposely left out certain things. John purposely made it so clear and simple that we will understand. And really, it was the Spirit that was helping John to explain Revelation chapter 4 and chapter 5. So John had to be in the Spirit. Then in Revelation 17:3, John said, so he carried me away in the Spirit into the wilderness. So the rest of the chapter, John is writing while he is in the Spirit. And the last time John said he was in the Spirit will be Revelation chapter 21, verse 10. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain. This is the fourth time that John is saying, I was in the Spirit. And this is when John will see the bride of Christ, the New Jerusalem. So it is important to note that the book of Revelation was written, and the visions that John saw and the descriptions of what John was giving us was totally and completely done by the Spirit, or when he was in the Spirit. Let's go on. The second part of verse 3, a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of the names of blasphemy. So what I'm going to, when they said she sat upon the beast, mean that she was in control of the beast. That a scarlet-colored beast full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. This is what she would look like, or something like this. Remember, we saw this beast earlier in the book of Revelation. We saw this beast in Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. And I stood, and I think that's the dragon. He said, I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. So we saw this creature before, we saw this beast before, and we will get some more explanation as we go along in this chapter. But this is the second time we are seeing this beast. However, they are the same. They are the same beast that came out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the name of blasphemy. Now, let us take a look at the woman. Now, remember I told you this chapter is giving us information on 3 things. And I hesitated and I ended up with this version of the class, the lesson today. I wanted to put all about the woman in one spot, about the beast in one spot, and the many waters in one spot. That's how I wanted to do it, but I think it's best that we do it as we were doing it before, verse after verse, and later on we can always come together and work out something. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of blasphemy and filthiness of her fornication. So now the angel is painting a picture, or John is painting a picture with the angel. He gave us a little about the beast, and he said the woman was riding the beast. Now he is telling us about the woman, how she was dressed. She was dressed in purple and scarlet. So it is red and red, or light red, dark red. We will see that later. She was with gold, silver, precious stones, pearls. And one of the most important thing is she had a golden cup in her hand. So the angel is giving us a description of the woman, the way she dressed. Now this is how the woman would look like in scarlet and purple. Now a picture is being formed here. Which religion or which church on the face of the earth carries this color? And you can see the golden cup. This is extremely important in this particular church. The color is very important, and the golden cup is very important. Now I had to fit these 2 pictures in one slide, but I just wanted you to see the different colors, the colors that we are talking about. And a picture is being revealed to us, the color of scarlet and the color of purple and the golden cup. That is 3 things we learn about the woman. Now look at this verse, Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Now, verse 5, and upon her head, again he's describing the woman, how she was dressed in purple and scarlet, and she was decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and she had a golden cup in her hand, and upon her head, upon her forehead, was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great. That's her name, Mystery, Babylon the Great. And the rest is a description of what she is, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. Now, the question is, if she is the mother of harlots, then who is her children? Now, this is a huge subject. This is huge. We could never complete this subject in an hour. All right, this is a huge subject. Now, one of her children was Hitler, the communist. Communism is one of her children. Now, would you believe that Islam is another one of her children? This is something for you to think about, and I am hesitating to add Islamic studies to the book of Revelation because the Lord said, do not add or take away from this book. Maybe we can do it some other time. But if she is the mother of harlots, then she must have children. And the children, 2 of the children is communism and Islam. Now, when Hitler was gassing the Jews and killing them in the gas chambers, the church in Rome, they had 1,000 Jews living in their basement, just in case Hitler plan were to backfire. They would say, hey, we are protecting the Jews. You will find that in the book entitled 50 Years in the Church in Rome by Father Chiniquy. Let's go on. Just give me 1 second. All right. Now, her name is Mystery Babylon the Great. That name's supposed to be a mystery. And let me show you what Peter said in 1 Peter 5:13. The church that is at Babylon, elected together with you, salute you, and so does Marcus, my son. The church that is at Babylon. For those of you who study the Bible, can you ever remember Peter going to Babylon? Peter never went to Babylon. Then why did he say the church that is at Babylon, elect together with you, salute you? Babylon was a code name for Rome. Babylon was a code name for the church in Rome. Peter was at Rome when he wrote this epistle. 1 Peter 5:13, when he said the church that is at Babylon. Babylon there means Rome. Let's go on. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. She was drunk with two different types of blood. Well, human blood, but the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyr of Jesus Christ. Now, it did not say like in Revelation 3:16 that they drink the blood of the prophets, they shed the blood of the prophets and the saints. The one that is missing here is the blood of the prophets. So this woman, she was responsible for killing the saints. She was responsible for the martyrs of Jesus Christ. Now, how was she responsible for killing the saints? The Catholic Church, or the church in Rome, they had what you call the Inquisition. And when we studied the 7 churches, you will remember we had the Reformation, and then we had the Protestants. The Reformation is when the certain people, God raised certain people, and they tried to reform the church in Rome. They did not want another church. They didn't want a separate church. They wanted a reformed church. But when the church refused to be reformed, then they break away from the church, and we had the Protestants. Now, during that time, they had what you call the Inquisition. That started, well, the church in Rome started to suppress these people who were rising up from the 1100s. Around the 1200s, the church started to have inquisitions, and it started in the 1200s and it ended in the 1800s. So that is 600 years of inquisition. You had the medieval Inquisition, you had the witch trial, you had the Spanish Inquisition, the Portuguese Inquisition, the Brazilian Inquisition. Around the world, the church killed over 6 million people during the Inquisition. This is why she was drunk with the blood of the saints. And then she was drunk with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus Christ. You'd remember who was the first martyr for Jesus? It was Stephen. and they stoned Stephen to death. You will find that in Acts chapter 7, verse 59. And then in Acts chapter 12, verse 2, they killed James, the brother of John. And when they saw that that pleased the Jews, they went on and they arrested Peter. But the Lord delivered Peter from their hands. So from that point on, you can read the book of the Fox's book of Catacombs, and you will find tons of information about the matters of Jesus Christ. All 12 apostles were crucified, or they were slain for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. So she was drunk with the blood of the saints and with the matters of Jesus Christ. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, one, and of the beast that carry her, which had the 7 heads and the 10 horns. So remember, throughout this chapter, you are going to see 3 things. You are going to see the judgment of the whore, you are going to see the woman or the whore, and you are going to see the beast or the many waters or the people that carry her. This is the 3 things that you will be seeing. The beast which thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Now you remember we saw this in Revelation chapter 13, that the beast rising up out of the sea. We saw the beast coming out of the bottomless pit. And this is the same beast that was and is not and shall ascend from the bottomless pit, and whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the earth, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So we talked about this earlier in earlier chapters, that the world will wonder about this beast that was and is not and now is, and they would wonder after the beast, and they will worship the beast and stuff like that. We discussed that earlier. Now, and here is the mind which had wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sit. So we are seeing a location for this woman, where she is sitting, where she have her home base. And where she have her home base is the 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which she sit. So there are, that city that we are talking about is built on 7 mountains. Now, if you go through the computer, you will see at least 100 countries that are built on 7 hills. Over 100 countries around the world built on 7 hills. However, they do not fit the criteria of this particular woman. They do not have anything to do with this woman. They were not drunk with the blood of the saints. They were not drunk with the blood of the martyr of the saints. They were not dressed in purple and scarlet. They were not decorated with gold and pearls and precious stones. They did not have a golden cup in their hand. So although you have 100 countries, or at least 100 countries that are built on 7 hills, there is only one that fit this description, and that is Rome. Take a look at this. The Vatican City, the smallest country in the world, is an independent country. Vatican City is an independent country inside the city boundaries of Rome. So you have Rome, and then you have the Vatican City inside the boundaries of Rome. The only existing example of a country within a city. Rome is often referred to as the city of 7 hills due to its geographic location, and also as the eternal city. So now we are getting a clearer picture. The woman we are talking about is the Vatican City. Let's go on. And there are also 7 kings. 5 is fallen, and 1 is, and the other is yet to come. and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So we are getting a clearer picture. The seven heads represents two things. One, the seven mountains on which the woman sit, and two, the seven kings on which the woman sit. And now we get a breakdown of that seven kings. 5 is fallen. 1 was existing when John was writing the book of Revelation, which is Rome. And the other is yet to come, which is the revived Roman Empire. So the woman will be riding on the revived Roman Empire. Let's go on. Now you remember this shaded picture. The beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, these are the two kings. These are the two kings that was before Nebuchadnezzar time, or that was before Daniel time. Egypt and Assyria, they conquered Israel when Israel was a nation. Then we have the Babylonian, that was represented by the lion. Then we have the Medes and the Persians, that was the bear. Then we had the Grecian Empire, which is the leopard. These are the 5 kings that have fallen. Now, what I want you to understand is Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medes and Persians, and Greece, they never disappeared from the face of the earth. When the Assyrian conquered Egypt, Egypt was absorbed into Assyria. When Babylon conquered Assyria, Assyria and Egypt was absorbed in Babylon, and so on and so on. So these countries, they never disappeared. These kings never disappeared. They were absorbed into each other. Then when we had Rome, remember this creature had the body of a leopard, the head of a lion, the feet of a bear. It's a combination of the best of the 5 kingdoms before it. So that kingdom still exists. And then the last one is the one to come is the Antichrist. Now, when the people see the revived Roman Empire, and I told you before that the Antichrist and the revived Roman Empire are so closely knitted that they are referred to interchangeably. Now, when they see Rome, Rome was the only one that was not absorbed. The last kingdom was not as absorbed. It just disappeared. Now, when people see Rome coming out of the ashes, they would wonder with great admiration. This is what it means by they were amazed when they saw the beast rising up out of the bottomless pit. This is Rome rising up from the ashes again. Let's go on. Now, let me tell you a little about Babylon. And again, there is no way we could cover everything about Babylon. Babylon is the most famous city from ancient Mesopotamia, whose ruin lies in modern-day Iraq, 59 miles southwest of Baghdad. It is said that Iraq was built from the bricks that Nebuchadnezzar used in Babylon. Now, Mesopotamia is between the 2 rivers, the Tigris River and the river Euphrates. Babylon was the most populous city. Babylon first appeared in the book of Genesis as the Tower of Babel. So that's the beginning of Babylon. Then Babylon disappeared for a while, and this famous king, Hammurabi, he revived the modern day Babylon. So the history of Babylon started back with Hammurabi. Then it continued with Sennacherib, the king, the Assyrian king. And when he was defeated by this guy, Nabopolassar, I like that name, Nabopolassar. Nabopolassar was the father of Nebuchadnezzar II. So he took Babylon back, brought it back as much as he could, and Babylon was at the peak of its glory under Nebuchadnezzar. And from there, continuing, is where we have the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks and Rome. So this is an up-to-date information as to when Babylon started back under Nebuchadnezzar. Now let's go on. The beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and he is of the seven and go into perdition. This is very simple. The beast they are talking about is the Antichrist. Remember, he will destroy 3 of the horns, and he will have a little kingdom by himself. He is the 8th kingdom, but you don't hear much about him. Why? Because he is of the 7. Let's go on. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power with as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now, what is happening here is the base kingdom is the revived Roman Empire. I want you to remember that. The base kingdom, the Antichrist kingdom, is the revived Roman Empire. Now, in addition to that, the 10 horns that was upon the beast are 10 kings. And they do not have any kingdom as yet, but they will receive a kingdom under the beast. So this is where we come with that. And this is a picture of what the 10 kingdoms would be like. It will be Italy, France, England, Belgium, Holland, Portugal, Prussia, Austria, Spain, and Greece. And the 10 toes in Nebuchadnezzar's statue and the 10 horns are the same. So this is the 10 kings who will not receive any kingdom as yet, but they will receive a kingdom during the tribulation period. Now you would remember, I told you that the kingdom of the Antichrist, when the 5th angel poured out his vial, darkness was upon the kingdom of the Antichrist. And I told you it was the revived Roman Empire plus the 10 kings. That was the kingdom of the Antichrist. Now verse 13, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So the 10 kings will have one mind. They would determine to give their power and their strength unto the beast. That is why we said that is the kingdom of the Antichrist. And these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So they have one mind, and they have one mind and dedication to the beast, and so much so that they will make war with the Lamb on behalf of the beast. This is important. Now remember, we are talking about 3 things. The judgment of the whore, we are talking about the great whore, and we are talking about the many waters that she is sitting upon. So the many waters that she is sitting upon is the kingdom of the Antichrist. Let's go on. And he said unto me, the water which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. So it started off in verse 1 as a woman sitting upon many waters. And during the chapter, the angel explained to us the group of people that make up the many waters. The many waters are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. But they are not everybody. They are the revived Roman Empire, and they are the 10 kings. Put together, this is the people on which the woman was sitting upon. The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. So now we are talking about the judgment of the whore. She has been riding the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. She have been in control of the 7 heads and 10 horns, but they would secretly hate her. And then they will turn on her. And when they turn on her, they will make her desolate. This is her judgment. They will make her desolate. To make desolate means to strip her of her treasure and plunder her wealth. And naked. To make her naked means to expose her moral corruption to the public. To eat her flesh and burn her with fire, to devour her flesh, burn her with fire means to murder the clergy, extreme vengeance with hostility. Extreme vengeance with hostility. So her judgment is a deceit by the 10 kings. The 10 kings will hate her. Now, when will this happen? When will all of this happen? We will find out in a minute. For God has put in their heart to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast till the word of God shall be fulfilled. In all of the book of Revelation, this is my favorite verse. Revelation chapter 17, verse 17. What is this telling us? This is telling us that God is in control regardless of what is taking place on the face of the earth. Everything that is being done will be done and is done for his glory, for his honor, for his will. For God had put in their hearts to fulfill his will. Now, they did not say, I am going to fulfill God's will. They did not say that. They don't even know that that is what they are doing. What they are doing is to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast. And that is what they were doing, not knowing that they are fulfilling the will of God. This is what God uses everything and everyone to fulfill his will. We must understand that the God we serve is totally and completely in control, regardless of what we see. We do not understand it, but his will is being done. This is my favorite verse in all of the book of Revelation. I live my life with this verse in mind. Whatever happens, it is the will of God. Whatever happens is according to his plan. For God had put in their heart to fulfill his will. And like I said, they don't know that they are fulfilling his will. All they know is they will agree, they will join together, and they will give their kingdom to the beast. When they do that, they will overthrow the woman. Now, the Antichrist will need the woman at the beginning of the tribulation period. He needs her because he comes as a man of peace. He needs her to gain power over the earth. She already has power over the earth. So he needs her. Now, in the middle of the tribulation period, and you'll remember, we said there will be a war in heaven. The devil will be cast out from heaven. When he is cast out, one of the first things that he will do is kill the 2 witnesses. And when he killed the 2 witnesses, that gives him courage to go into the temple in Jerusalem and declare that he is God. When he declared that he is God, he will persecute the woman, and that was the other woman in the book of Revelation, who is Israel, a virtuous woman, and she had to run for her life in the wilderness in a place prepared for her for 3.5 years. This is the time when they will turn on the woman or the church in Rome. This is when they will turn on the Catholic Church in Rome. So when will this happen? Around the middle of the tribulation period. Now we have one more verse. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Which city on the face of the earth today can boast that they reign over the kings of the earth? So this will happen around the 3.5-year period. Okay, so I have a couple pictures I want to show you here. All the world leaders around the world, and I just shown you a few because there's too many. We could stay here all evening just looking at pictures. Fidel Castro, the Queen, Donald Trump, Biden, Merkel, the Egyptian president, and we can go on and on and on and on. They all come to the Pope. They all come and kiss his ring, and they all come and they, whether they ask for his advice, make the contribution, whatever they do. But the only city in the world that is never affected by the economic situation on the earth is the Vatican City. They are so wealthy that regardless of what happened on earth, their wealth is never touched. Never, never, ever touched. So if you go on the internet and type in world leaders who met the Pope, you will see hundreds of them. The sad thing is, if you type in religious leaders who met the Pope, you could be disappointed, because a lot of the people that we look up to, they go and kiss his ring also. Whether that is right or not, I am not saying, but what I'm saying is the church, the woman in Revelation 17 is the Vatican City, and the people that she is riding or was riding was the revived Roman Empire and the 10 kings, and then they will turn on her and they will devour her flesh and they will burn her and they would strip her naked, and that is her punishment. Now in Revelation chapter 18, we will see a lot of the same, because this event happens around the middle of the tribulation period. Chapter 18, most expositors believe that it will happen at the end of the tribulation period. So we will get into Revelation 18, which is the last interlude, and I promise you 19, 20, 21 will be smooth sailing to the end of the book of Revelation. I know you have been with me for a very long time. I appreciate it, and I hope that you read the book of Revelation. I've been looking at Word and Spirit Assembly, and there's a lot of video on the book of Revelation. You can revisit the book of Revelation, and if you have any questions, you can write them down. And if there is enough questions, we can do one session with answering all of your questions. So at this time, I'm going to turn back to Pastor Michael, and Pastor, it's all yours.